T.J. Chef, my right-hand man, Jay Cutter, and we are here tonight to discuss with these fine people about health, wealth, and financials, trying to get our things corrected. I'm more worried about the IUL I'm trying to get into. Make sure my great brains got some money somewhere. But first off, we get you guys to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Michele Rose. I am a hospice nurse in upstate South Carolina.
Okay.
And I'm T.J. Jenkins. I am an insurance agent with Comparion Insurance, also here in South Carolina, servicing North Carolina and Alabama as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're just gonna go through some information, try to get it out to the people. That's pretty much what our podcast does. We try to be, try to bring things to forward so people can understand what we don't understand. So, so I have topics, but I might not have the information. So I go seek out the people that's got the information. So, with that being said, sir, would you like to start them with a round of questions, please?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is just really information, because what you don't understand creates fear a lot of times, especially when it has to do with money. So one of the things that would be interesting to know is explain the different types of insurance, living benefits of life insurance maybe. Just kind of touch in on basically combating the usual conversation of it when you're supposed to use it just for death.
Right.
You know, just kind of school us a little bit on the investment side of it.
Gotcha. So I guess we'll just start with what we typically do know already, and that's there's term insurance, there's whole life insurance. Everybody typically knows those two batteries. You know, with term, there's a certain amount of years for a dollar amount, and that's what your family will receive when you expire. And whole life, you know, a lot of people don't know that whole life is no longer living to 100 and you're solid as far as making those payments. Now that has been adjusted to a 120, right? So we got term, we got whole life, and now we introduce the elephant in the room, index universal life, right? So I get so many calls and they're like, hey, what's that insurance where I can be my own bank? You know, or it gains money. Well, they're talking about the IULs, index universal life, and those do have living benefits as well as you still have face amount death benefit when you expire. So that's the hot button. The hot button is how can I earn money? So it's an investment battery, right? So you still take out the insurance policy. You decide what it is that you can afford, you know, for that month. And we set up a face amount, death amount for your benefit, right? Let's just say it's $250,000. Well, on the other side of that, there's an investment battery that's gaining interest every month over month is growing. Shameless plug over at Comparion, my product is growing at almost 14%. No IRA, no high yielding savings account can do that for you, right? So put your money in there, and as that's growing, you still have your death benefit on the other side, okay? As that grows, let's just say that gets to be 50 grand, right? On the investment side. If you need to take some money out, you can borrow against that. Insurance money is prepaid, pre-tax money, so guess what we're doing? Different from borrowing from your 401k, we're not taxing that money, we're not paying penalties on that money. In my program, you actually create a repayment plan, okay? You take 20, say you got 50, you take 20 out. You go ahead and set up how you're gonna repay that. If you do expire during that time, then there are hiccups, you know, I'm not gonna pretend like it's perfect, right, and say, but if you borrow 20, you pay 20 back, and you got 50 sitting over here, and you expire, then you had 250 and face amount death benefit, right? We have 50 over comes over to the 250, and now your face amount of that benefit is 300,000. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's like a combination on the back end.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
But think about daughter gets 22, you want a wedding, college bill. Well, look, we had this, we can just go in here, take that out, pay that, and I'll pay myself back.
Right.
Versus mortgage in the house. You know, our favorite thing to do, fish fries. You know, so, and I mean, I say that lightly, but I mean,
But it's the truth.
That's real.
Right.
Yeah, the GoFundMe moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're basically forcing people to be responsible towards their money.
correct.
You know what I mean? Like in a kind of hidden fashion, you know.
In a perfect world, right?
Yeah.
But listen, all three products serve a purpose. All three products are great in helping families. But my encouragement for my people is for us to learn how to take those finances and take control of them ourselves.
Okay.
Be able to take care of things that we need to take care of without always having to run to the bank and take out a loan.
Gotcha.
But my probably biggest question is, please explain to people the reason they should have insurance outside of what they have on the job.
In its most simplistic form, while you have that job, you have insurance. You're paying into that group's insurance. Irregardless of how you separate from that job, whether they leave you or you leave them, everything that you paid is now it's a wash. So you paid into, if you outlive that job, the only way having insurance through your job really impacts you is you need to die while you're working there. If you're not working there,
It does something.
it's all a wash.
Gotcha. Now, what I add is that, what about as far as denials of coverage? What facet or anything that physically you got going on that they will actually deny you coverage?
So you go through underwriting, right? I mean, this life insurance is a 1-for-1. Me and you could be the same age, we could be the same height, we can weigh the same thing, but until they draw my blood, draw your blood, see what we got going on internally for ourselves, none of that matters, right?
Okay.
So our physical stature may line up, but that lab work is going to tell a different story, right?
Okay.
If let's just say I'm someone that's high blood pressure, right? Well, typically if you're perfectly healthy and I'm high blood pressure, I'm more of a risk. So my premium is going to be higher than yours. When you talk about denials, most terminal things are going to get you a denial, and then you would have to get a guaranteed, program that's guaranteed. They have those out there. We have one. Like actually with my company, you have to be denied first before we can even apply for a guaranteed approval policy for you. And I mean, they are more expensive, but it's something versus having nothing. And in Michelle's line of work with Agape, the hospice house, right? Most of their stuff is guaranteed. I mean, if you see her, you're gonna get an A and B selection from her, and the next voice you're gonna hear is gonna be Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
now, going back to that, in the whole insurance spectrum, can you explain to people the actual living benefits that's built inside the life insurance? Because everybody knows just, when that day comes, and nobody thinks is anything else to offer outside of that.
Well, I mean, I think we kind of summed up the living benefits in the Agape, right? That's something where you can go in and borrow from money that you're actually paying in life. When you go in your 401k, you're gonna get met with all kinds of taxes, penalties, and insurance as a whole, I think where we get it wrong is we just think, okay, I got $1 million life insurance policy. When I die, my family's gonna get $1 million, right? Well, you got bills, right? And I think the least thing that is actually, I think we don't put any thought into income replacement.
Right.
You know,
For that person that's gone.
right. If a man leaves here, and let's just say he's making 120 grand a year, right? That income is gone from that home. That wife and those kids, they're still there, right? But 120,000 a year just went in the ground.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the insurance world, we call it the hill of life, right? And it's a line that we just explain to people that, sorry about that. That's supposed to be on silent. So, the hill of life, right? So we talk to you about what your bills look like, what you own in your house, how many cars do you have that are unpaid for, do you have credit card debt, do you have hospital bills, right? Well, in your 20s and 30s, you need a big policy if you are to leave here, because you got all that stuff to pay for, right?
Right.
As you go, if you take that big amount and you keep it, well then guess what? Now the house is paid off. Now the cars are paid off. You done cleaned up those credit card bills and things like that. You don't need as much, but if you keep that same amount, then you positioned your family to live
Build that off.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So, Ms.Michele, as far as what you, the hospice, who was actually eligible for those services?
Well, with hospice benefits, sort of listening to what TJ said, it's, listening to him talk about preparation for the future, preparation for the family. And, we spend 9 months preparing for a baby to come into this world. But when it's time to go, there's very little preparation put into it, there's very little thought. And a lot of that is because of the stigma that surrounds hospice and end of life. So my position and my job is to make sure that people are educated about the hospice benefit, that they understand what that benefit entails, who's eligible for that benefit, and then prepare people for that journey.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not an easy conversation to have, just like insurance. I've come across people who, at the very end, they have nothing to cover themselves with. They have no policies to cover things. So it's a scramble at the end to try to get those things done. But as far as eligibility, anybody that has a life-limiting illness is eligible for hospice. The government's rules usually say you have 6 months or less to live. But with those services, I have people in hospice that have been on for 2 or 3 years. So they're declining, they're just not passing away. You have to show a decline. I talk about this all the time with the disparities, especially in the African American community. We tend to get services last. So we're only on for 2 to 3 weeks. Other people have been on for months to years. So again, my goal is to make sure that whoever's eligible can get those benefits early on. The sooner, the better.
So what kind of game plan do you recommend as far as approaching dealing with a family member?
So first of all, seek reliable help. Seek an expert, because everybody can tell you what they've heard, what they've been through, and it's always great to talk to someone who's been in your shoes, but also someone who's a little less biased and has the direct answers on the finances, on the medications, on the diagnosis. So usually I get referrals from the hospital, and then again, word of mouth. Well, this is my experience, and she helped with this, or her company helped with this. So that's usually how we get the word out there.
Okay. I was just about to ask that too. How do you get referred? You answered that for me.
Anybody can refer to hospice. It doesn't have to be a medical
No,
person.
okay, it doesn't have to be a doctor. Okay.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, if you feel like somebody could be eligible,
Mhm.
then, you know, you can just reach out and someone, you can do an evaluation, look at medical records, and then if that person's eligible, then the hospice person can then reach out to the doctors directly.
Okay.
So you can separate hospice from death.
Absolutely.
Okay, because honestly, I don't know about everyone else that's here, but coming up, getting, you know, it's from, I guess, 21 to now, I'm 50 now, so just over these last couple of decades, it's like whenever you hear hospice, you put your head down, because you're like, you know what, they're on their way out. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you hear, when they brought hospice in, I heard you like, well, we need to hurry up and get down there, because you know,
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like we like you said a second ago, we're the type of people who aren't prepared, and we end up scatterbrained, just trying to put pieces together. It's like issues that we don't want to tackle, we run from until they catch up with us. You know, and that's
It make you happy.
right. They don't have a choice because you know it's gonna sit you in place. Like now,
Right.
deal with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this is that hospice is interesting because really people are scared to talk about you. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
Right.
I've never had a conversation with anyone about hospice.
At all. And it's like I say, by the time you have that conversation, it's too late. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to deal with it.
But I'll say this, you know, I was in the blind as well, and when we started working with clients together, I never heard the word palliative care. I had heard the word hospice.
Right.
And as I alluded to earlier, if my client is talking to her, it's too late for us to run a quote.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, the words death and hospice are like coupled. You know?
Well, and to your point, you know, years ago, it used to be that when somebody's going on hospice, like you said, you call the whole family in, and everybody stands around the bed, holds hands, and says Amazing Grace, and then mama's gonna go on. But
Right.
that used to be. So a part of what I do is, and that could still very well be, but from my standpoint, the way that I view it is, let's get it sooner rather than later, so you can get the entire benefit. You get a nurse, you get a nurse's aide, you get a social worker, there's a doctor involved, and there are volunteers to help. If you choose hospice toward, you know, when you're right there at the end of death, you're gonna get that nurse and a whole bunch of medicine.
Right.
So, and the way people feel about hospice, if you mention that word, then somebody feels like you're gonna come in with a syringe of morphine and put somebody out of their misery, is what I've heard. I've heard people say, you know, families argue and say, oh, they're gonna come in, they're gonna put mama down like an old dog. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
Hey,
you know, that's not what it is. That's not what we want it to be.
Right.
So getting hospice in, or having hospice care means the family gets the gift of time.
Yeah.
That's great
You
that
get the
you
gift
said
of
that.
time.
That's great that you said that.
So we know there's a problem, we know that person's not gonna get any better. So what do we do from here?
Right.
Well, we wanna live, whatever that means, we wanna live. We wanna find those policies. We wanna go ahead and start talking about the wishes that that person has. And we wanna make sure that there's care involved. We don't wanna suffer, we don't want that person in pain. So we go ahead and start putting those things in place. And then the walk is a whole lot slower at that point versus just waiting.
Right.
Waiting to the very end. A lot of that stigma too is because when we're in the hospital, you know, African Americans, we're considered to be very strong. So they'll let us go all the way until we can't anymore, until the pain is so very bad that all we can do is take medication and pass away. So again, trying to get around that stigma and start earlier so you can use the entire benefit.
Quick question.
Yeah.
This is kind of for both of you all. A long-term care policy, would that connect or build a bridge any kind of way towards hospice? Is there a way to connect that, a long-term
Actually,
care
on our
policy?
side, with the long-term care policies, those are usually only for, say, nursing home stays.
Okay.
And it's built
Okay.
towards long-term care stays. Now, here's the thing. I have a policy that I bought in my 20s with one of my first nursing jobs. And the coverage from that policy is no longer relevant to today because the times have changed. And the money that they thought I would need to stay in a nursing home is not the same. So they said $2,500 a month. A typical nursing home stay without insurance is $9,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's way out of that.
So
Wow.
if I don't have insurance, if I don't have anything, that's $9,000 out of pocket. So the long-term care policies are good as long as over the years you adjust that policy to meet the changes in the economy and
Yeah,
inflation.
inflation, definitely, yeah.
So that's just simply a matter of calling him to say, I need to up it, or we need to evaluate it to see if we need to.
Make some
Make
changes.
adjustments.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask about that.
It wasn't a man-
It was so close to both sides. I was like, maybe it's the bridge. I don't know.
Like, yeah, we're gonna put you in the nursing home. No, you ain't. Not
Yeah.
that money, you ain't.
That's
And I bet you that happens more often than people
Every day.
realize.
every day.
Wow.
Because, well, we have money to pay out of pocket. And I'm thinking, okay, well, do you know how much that is out of pocket?
Mhm.
Then I feel like an auctioneer because I'm like, well, I could probably get them to come down to $250 a day instead of $300 a day. But we have to ask them if they'll take $250 a day.
Right.
We come back
She's
and
like an auctioneer.
it's like $275. The building says $275.
Hey, because we as people, we separate the two though. We don't, in our minds, as times change, okay, like how much we pay for gas now, how much we pay for groceries now. We never ever think about what a policy would change from. We're thinking like, look, I got this policy 30 years ago. I'm
It has got this much on
you know,
Because $50,000 was a
you
lot
know.
of money.
Yeah.
30 years ago, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And but we don't. It's almost like I look at how many hours we work, how many days we work. I look at how we're always on the go, chasing that money, trying to get this money. Let's stack this up. Let's do this. Let's do that. The problem comes in that I've seen because it's been in my life. You know what I'm saying? Until I got to the point to where I'm like, yo, Josh, you in case of. So like, have time to sit still and look around you and see what you do have and what you don't have. And you know what I'm saying? Like, have those moments where you stop and do self-inventory. You know what I'm saying? Like, periodically. Because these conversations right here just aren't had. You know, because what you thinking about? Bills paid? What do the kids need? Do you need anything? Hey, how we looking on that vacation that we're about? You know what I mean? All these things come into play and take top priority. So whatever you've established in the policy or something, that's not on your mind. That's a piece of paper that's in a secure place in your house.
Right.
That when anything happens, you know, or that time comes, you want to go to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not like we have it as our agenda to just constantly check or like, you know, man, we haven't looked at the policy in a while. You know, those just aren't conversations with the pace of the world right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just kind of like, so that's why this is powerful for me because, you know, my wife talks about it all the time, like this very thing, because with her being in insurance as well, it happens so much. I hear it a lot, but you still go around and you can't imagine like resetting your mind to, you know what I mean, to do those things. So it's like, it's almost like, dang, I kind of feel bad, but I really just understand. You know, it's just not something that's always on our table. You know what I mean? So it takes people like y'all to, you know what I mean, to really bring this to light, to maybe we can bring it to somewhere in our mind to where we think about it more. You know what I'm saying? And can share it with each other.
I just play connecting dots, right? The few clients, I did not mean to say customers, the few clients that we work with together.
We'll take that word out.
Scratch customer. You know, when we look at a client from that standpoint, when they are on service with hospice, right? the most rewarding conversations are the people, as the church folks will say, they have their business straight. At church, we know what they're talking about.
Right.
I don't know they're talking about something else, right? So the ones that have their business straight, you get on service, you do all those wonderful things, you get on early, you get those benefits, you get to spend more quality time with your loved one. You want to see a happy person walking there with that death check. Everybody's sad, everybody crying, and they're making arrangements. That day, good. You know, when you walk in there with that death check. I mean, I wish we had another name for them, but we don't have another name for them. The death check. When I come in with that death check, everybody in the room that's waiting is gonna hug you.
Yeah.
They're gonna stop crying for just a few minutes. They're gonna figure it out, and you get to see that because Dad had his business straight, because Mama had her business straight. You know, everybody. You know, the speech is gonna be, "I'm gonna see her again."
Right.
But before I see her,
Right.
you know,
I'm
I'm gonna cash this, and we're gonna build that deck. We're going to the Bahamas. You know, we're gonna pay kids college. You know.
And I think just y'all, you know, stopping in today, and when we actually put this up, I mean, I hope it spawns the conversations that need to be had, because, like I said, like you were saying earlier, first thing we think of was either we know somebody getting ready to pass away or they have passed away, is the fish fry or the GoFundMe, and that's just completely backwards. Nobody looks down the road. Like I said, nobody thinks about the income replacement. You know, if you do got kids and they want to go on to school, how do you do all of that? And it's as simple as picking up the phone and calling you. You know, to make it just a little bit easier when something does come up. And it's something I had to take up with my daughter, because she's thinking, you know, working, you know, I got insurance for the job, but baby, that job won't, if it don't come up tomorrow, you just out of luck. So you need something, at least something to get you started. You can always add to it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But we talking baseline. If anything happened to your two kids, you know, they cool. They can live with Gigi and Papa the rest of their life. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's gonna take something to keep them going too.
Right.
So, you know.
And I'll give you a simple baseline, right? I tell 20-somethings. Let's talk to the 20-somethings. You can get a term policy for just about $1 every year that you've been living for a nice sum of money. You know, like I say, if you're in your 20s, you can get some in the 20s, right? For $250,000, and you can do a term, right? $250,000 term, you're in your 20s, paying 20 some odd dollars, right? And you can get that for 40 years. You can get that for 45 years. Unlike in our day, 20 years was a big term policy. Well, now they have them where you can get something for 40, 45 years. You're in your 20s. I mean, imagine what we could blow $20 on. I mean, you could blow $20 on eggs right now.
Right. So definitely what it is.
So,
Yes.
so, you know, I would encourage people in that dynamic, get you a term policy. As I said earlier, all three of the batteries are awesome in their own way. If you just need to get something for just a few dollars, if you can afford to do a few more dollars plus over that 20, then I would say go ahead and get an IUL. Start earning you something. If you're in your 20s and you got kids, put one on them, you know, next to nothing. And let that money grow, because theoretically, you have time. We all know that doesn't necessarily mean that you do, but you got more time than we got. You know, if a 20-year-old and the group of us that's sitting in this room all had 40 years, they got a lot more time than we do. Right. We probably won't do the whole 40.
Right.
So,
Well, a lot of people too, a lot of young people, they feel invincible. They don't feel like they're going to pass away. When they look at how long their grandmothers lived and how long their grandfathers, and then one diagnosis can change that.
Right.
So it's, you know, even then, being prepared early, nobody wants to have that conversation I'm setting money aside for vacation, for this bill, for that bill, but what about for your future? Well, I've got time. And the one thing that I've learned in 29 plus years of nursing is time is nobody's friend.
Right.
We're part of that sandwich generation where we have children and grandchildren, and then we're taking care of our parents. And one thing can happen to your parents and change your entire life.
Right.
So now you're in a vicious tug of war where you're trying to take care of your parents, trying to take care of your kids, and you're stretched in the middle. So that little bit of relief is, you know, if you can get yourself to go ahead and admit that these things do happen,
Right.
and you do need that cushion and security, then it's a whole lot easier to handle later on.
Listen, man, I came off the field today, doing some games, only to find out that Angie Stone is gone.
Yeah, I seen
Did a show, got in her sprinter van to head back home.
My sunshine has come. She ain't here no more?
Didn't make it.
Now, I did not know Angie Stone had passed. Y'all done to get
And
here.
you know how they say folks are leaving here? I think folks are always going at the same rate because we're older now and looking at our own mortality.
Yeah.
We're looking at the people around us pass away,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's when the bulb comes on. It's a shame that bulb didn't come on earlier when we can do that, but again, we're young and that's when we're gonna be okay.
it.
So even now, 40s, 50s, it's not too late. That policy might be a little bit more money,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still worth it.
Well, so quick question. What is how would I say this? The most worthless policy to acquire? What if there's a such
You
thing?
want the corporate answer or you want the real answer?
The real answer, sir.
The real answer is the one that you pay into somebody's group. You may even have been on that job. You may have 20 years in already, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you may get fed up. They may close down. We may have an executive order that says you can't go to work next week. You no longer have that insurance. So when people tell me during a consult that, well, I gotta do my job, I tell them, you really don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, let's say you pay $12 a month into that group insurance, life insurance at your job. Take that 12 and put it with whatever you could do for yourself and have something that'll follow you wherever you go.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna say that it's worthless.
That's good stuff.
But
That's good stuff.
But it only pays if you pay.
yeah, if you wanna waste some insurance money, that's a good place to waste it. Following group insurance job.
Because when you think about the group insurance for the job, I know we have this conversation all the time. I felt so blessed that I looked down and I can get $100,000 worth of coverage through my job for this, and they're giving it to me for free. It's not free. They're banking on me not passing away or me not having a catastrophic injury, so they don't have to pay that. And I'm sure their rates, are so different. So they'll say, we'll give you $100,000, but for $10 more, you can buy this coverage. You're still not going to use it unless something catastrophic happens.
Right.
And then when you leave that job, all that money you paid in is gone too.
So are there any policies that would follow you from a job even if terminated? Are there any?
There has to be some. I know with the federal government, a lot of their stuff still goes with you post-retirement. I don't know that because my mother retired from the federal government.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you something that she's now learning with that policy that followed her post-retirement is when she retired, I think it was worth $150,000 and it reduces. And it'll stop reducing when it gets to 15,000. So from 150
To 15,000.
you gotta hurry and die.
Living becomes a burden.
I think the last thing she told me is it'll stop decreasing when it gets to 15 and it'll never go down again.
That's just enough to bury you.
I'm gonna say that's well.
I mean, we can't get the Shaw upgrade because that takes
So if I called you Monday and said I wanted to do IUL for my grandchildren, I can do that?
Man, why we gonna wait till Monday?
Well, I can call you in 6-7 minutes. Go ahead and get it started.
But no, seriously, you know, if you have immediate family, wife, children, grandchildren, even some people have special circumstance where they have niece and nephew with them, you know, because things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Brother man passed away, we gotta take care of his kids. Sister man passed away, we gotta take care of his, you know, and so you can do that for any of them. And there are some other options, you know, juvenile policies, and we have the standard universal life that is a growth engine as well. It is not growing at the clip that the index is, but it's growing. We're talking about the difference between like 3.995% and 13.95%. So, you know, you want to manage that money as best possible, you know, to be most profitable for you. So.
Okay.
You guys are around my age, so go back to and ask your parents about back in the 70s and early 80s, there was a big push for Gerber life insurance.
It was.
And a lot of our parents bought those for $1 a month, and you heard nothing else.
It fizzled.
That money's out there. Ask your parents what happened to that policy because they paid into it or they stopped paying into it. I found out that my mother has one, and it's worth $10,000, and she kept it, and she's paying on it to this day. She had it on my brother and I.
Wow.
Back then in the 70s, $10,000 was a lot of money, but again, those little tiny policies that we pay into that we forget about. And the other thing is not to let them lapse, because, you know, being with hospice and asking, how are we gonna pay, when we get down to that part, how are we gonna pay for this funeral? Well, Daddy had a policy that he, outside of work, that he's been paying into. Daddy hadn't paid into it in 10 years. So at that point, you know, go back and ask your parents about those policies and pick up that payment for them. Because it's probably still a little premium because they bought it early on. Go back and pick those payments up and still pay into it, so that all that money's not in vain.
And for the people in the back, Gerber Life is actually still around.
It's still.
It's still around. I mean, it's not a dollar a month.
It's still around.
Oh, that's how they look. It's $1 to get started. But trust me, you ain't gonna pay $1. See, because I always do see that with what's the other one that comes to the mail? Globe Life.
Globe Life.
Them too.
Really? Okay. Okay. So, but I guess it's just better to have something than nothing at all.
One question. So yeah, I gotta pick while we're in it. Is there any type of standard for annuities? Is there like annuities, IULs, is there any type of physical condition, or is there like, it basically, can your health eliminate you from being able to have an annuity or an IUL?
It can, and I mean, like, in life insurance, annuities, that stuff is 1 for 1. I mean, it is absolutely your report card. What your report card brings back is the determining factor. Now, you brought up annuities, and since you did, we're gonna talk about it. So,
Let's do it.
You know, when I do talk to a client that is heavy on, look, man, I got this money, I want to figure out what and where I can put it. I don't want to put it in an IRA, I don't want to just put it in the bank, I don't want to put it under the mattress. What can I do? When we talk about annuities, I tell this funny story. We had a guy come down from our national headquarters, and he was telling us a story about a jealous husband that had a young wife. He went and got an annuity, right? I know in our program, annuities start at $10,000, right? That's the floor. And we do have a program where you can pay up until you get to the 10, and you get slow incremental upticks, and then when you get to 10, you're wide open. The difference with an annuity and how you beneficiary to your wife, kids, whatever, with an annuity you can get very specific.
Yes.
Very detailed.
Yes.
And so the story goes on to say that this guy said that he set it up for his wife upon his demise to get $5,000 a month, right? And that was supposed to carry her to, she joined it, right? But what he went on to say is, if she ever goes out of the house with red high heels on, that cuts, the money cuts that day. If she is ever, and I mean, so you can get that specific. I mean, that's a over the top
I thought
example.
you said she remarried or something.
No, she got to wear the heels before she can remarry. she got to go somewhere before she can meet somebody to remarry. So if she leaves her house with red high heels on, this contract is over.
That's deep.
So, you know, with annuities, if you're asking, if your question is you want to know the incremental differences, annuities are fully customizable. You know, you can really get all the way in the weeds with it.
Yeah.
You know.
So your children, like, if you say my son would have to graduate from college.
Right.
If
he doesn't, then then his share goes back to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, and that's just one of the major details. I mean, you can really in financial instruments, you can get way in the weeds with that stuff. But if you're talking to somebody that's on the fence, extra life insurance policy, annuity, then the information is, look, man, over here it's not gonna grow at the same pace as the IUL that we were talking about, but over here you can really, like she said, son don't go to college, graduate from college, then that money goes back to mom, goes back in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's money you worked hard for. I actually like that idea. You should hate to think that money was just available to.
But we wonder why we see so much of other cultures and other races, how they continue to strive, even when they're not good people mentally, to strive. They just have instructions. You know what I'm saying? They're not heavy on making good decisions, but they're like, look, if I don't do this, look, I'm gonna be broke, man. Look, check this out. Sign me up, man. How long this gonna take? Okay. They'll go through and may even turn to become, a more educated person or more, better decision maker. But that's just like I said, a lot of that stuff's missing from our community, man. Because it's like it's the instructions that we don't get to leave. These conversations you have while a person's alive, it's good. But man, when you can leave instructions that you can't go outside of,
why is that?
What
have we heard most of our lives? In those rare instances, if you got to call mom or dad for some money, you're gonna get instructions that day. They gonna tell you whatever it is they want to tell you, and you be like, oh, I don't want to hear that all down. With my money come my mouth, right? And so the reason
that's a t-shirt.
I know my children.
That's a t-shirt.
My children say the same thing.
With my money come my mouth.
So the reason why they get to leave instructions is because they've also told them, look, when I'm out of here, I'm gonna leave my money, I'm gonna leave this to you, but I need you to do this, and this. You know why we don't get instructions? Because we don't leave anybody.
Right.
Gotcha. And then, like I said, man, like I said earlier, I bring people on when I need to learn. Especially, like I said, I can talk about it, I can tell you what I think about something, but when it comes to knowledge, I have to get people in front of me who know what they're talking about. So I'm so glad y'all came through, man. I've learned enough stuff that I just didn't know. That annuity thing, I think I could try that with life.
Well, and trust too.
It's a goal of mine.
Look, if you go to Hobby Lobby, it cuts in hell, it ain't no more.
Well, and too, going into that when you pass away or when you're getting close, putting everything into a trust is a way to protect your money and to protect your estate. Because if you get to a point where you're gonna need nursing home placement or you're gonna need more care, say, and the best option is for you to have Medicaid for your secondary insurance, Medicaid's gonna wanna know how much money you have, what do you own. They're gonna make you sell that can't touch that trust.
Mm-hmm.
You can have $1 million in your trust and then get Medicaid
Right.
to pay for your nursing home
Right.
stay. So
Right.
that $9,000 is zero a month. So putting everything into a trust when you hit about 60 years old, if you don't wanna talk about it now, and then putting your children on that trust is also a good idea for.
So you put them on as the trustee,
Mhm.
you take, okay.
We're
The
getting,
government can't touch that money.
we're getting
Don't
to
take
that
your house.
age where we should start taking things out of our name. Our parents should already have everything out of their name.
Out of their names.
See, that's good eating right there.
Yeah, but that's it.
Any land,
That's some good talk.
anything that they own,
Okay.
bank accounts, or on the bank accounts, you should have, what they call a pay on death. So these are the things that we talk about in hospice. While that patient's still with us and still lucid, then I go ahead and direct them, make your daughter your pay on death, because if not, that money, she can't touch your money that's in the bank. All that gets tied up in probate
Probate.
for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So go ahead and start aligning those people that you know are gonna make those decisions for you.
And do y'all offer trust services with your,
We refer those out.
You do?
I mean, but we
Okay.
do, we have a group that we work directly with. While we're talking about that, I mean, earlier I was making a statement about getting the house in order. We need wills, we need living
Yes.
wills, we need trust. I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, I know it's
Yes.
not gonna be done in a day, but,
which we need to be working towards it?
correct.
Okay.
I consult, she consults, and it's not just somebody has to, you don't just have to need life insurance to get a consultation. We can finish our conversation and you may need to go do a whole nother thing, right? You may leave our conversation saying, I need to go get me a will and get everything in order and then come back and talk to this brother. Nobody necessarily has to be dying to get that consultation from her. Maybe guess what? Maybe as she stated earlier, they're declining at a rate where they can be on service, and you got that extra time where, I mean, they still in their right mind.
And
they
mama's
still
still
can
in her
talk,
right
still
mind,
can
they
walk.
can still make
Yeah.
decisions.
Gotcha. So, tell us how to get in contact with you if we have more questions, or people that's gonna see this video, how do they contact you guys about, getting the information?
Listen, if I was,
Or consultation?
yeah, if I was a preacher, I would be the one that comes down the pulpit and walks on the floor amongst the people. So, direct sale, 864-518-3218, T.J. Jenkins, Comparion Insurance.
Michelle Rose, 864-504-7780, Agape Care, South Carolina.
My friend, I learned a ton, and it makes me want to, cause I've had the talks with my kids, but we ain't never sat down to do X, Y, Z, especially as far as the living will and the trust. So that's something I really want to put together, leaving here, so they understand what's gonna go on or what's gonna happen if anything were to happen to me. Make sure to get their mama out of hobby lot, so everybody keep some money. But, other than that, you
I
got it.
didn't agree with you.
Hey, when you see, bro, when you see me,
I'm right here.
Went in there. I had to put that out there. Get ready.
You got anything else for
No, just a big thank you, for
Really,
thank you.
coming and sharing your time and your information and, basically your know-how in the area that's dark in our community. One more light bulb has been turned on in the community, and hopefully many more will. We would like to, get you guys back on, to go more further in depth. Maybe, next time you come on, we could maybe have some documents or something, just something, to where we can get it and make it more concrete in everyone's eyes that's watching and hearing. But these things, they're essential now. Our government's changing, our lives are changing, our money currency is changing, everything is changing.
we're getting a $250 bill.
See what I'm saying? Everything is changing. Wake up, people. Wake up and stop running from things that you know you need to do, but you're just afraid to. Because if we're selfish enough to save up for a vacation, we should be selfish enough to save up to take care of our families. So I look at it, we're really kind of whack with our thinking, but we can put 5,000 to an island, but we can't put 150 to the future of our people. So we've got to really sit down and kind of redirect our thoughts and come back together, you know what I'm saying, on a solid base, because right now we're floating. We got to really get ourselves concrete and get set in place. So once again, thanks, Michele, T.J. It's been a pleasure, you know what I mean? Just getting to listen.
I really thank you guys for coming out, and like I said, we will have these guys back in some facet, kind of give that second edition, that push, see where everybody is. The next time I'm gonna hope by then I got my trust and my living will done.
Right.
Because I don't know one day to the next. The way 2025 I started on it, I swear.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for coming through, and to all y'all, we will catch you next week.
Peace and love.